ToolTorials.
Hey, marketers, salespeople, entrepreneurs, and really anyone interested in doing digital business. Welcome to Impact Tutorials. I am your host, Kevin Phillips, and today I'm joined by Bradley Friedman of Lucky Orange. Bradley, how you doing, man?
Good. How you doing, Kevin? Thanks for having me here today.
No, glad to have you. Tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you come to Lucky Orange, and what is your role at Lucky Orange?
Sure. So a little quick history about myself is I've really been in the space of helping people and making them happy with the different types of places that I've worked at before. I came from more of an ad background, so I help the clients drive traffic to their website. But at the end of the day, they were always looking for how can we get more leads or more sales. And so that easily transitioned myself over into Lucky Orange. And instead of helping get more people to the site, I could now actually help them answer that question of how can we actually convert more people? How can we make more sales? Because here at Lucky Orange, we can help you out and figure out what's going wrong on that site. So no matter how much traffic you're driving, we can figure out ways to help convert. So I settled here at Lucky Orange about 4 years ago, and we've been helping people get set up and active on Lucky Orange ever since.
Awesome, great. So I'm getting little hints of what Lucky Orange is, but tell me about Lucky Orange. But the first question I have is, what's with the name? It's pretty cool and creative. How did you guys come up with the name Lucky Orange?
That's always a great question. And since day one, the answer I get is Lucky Lime was taken. So it's still been about 4 years, and that's the answer I get. So
that's funny. Even within office, everyone's just like, we don't know. It's just a cool name. Someone just kind of pulled it out of a hat, and we ran with it. Awesome.
Exactly. That's the story that I've been. And it's a fun one. Lucky Lime was taken. The 2 L's were taken. So what's the next best fruit? An orange, and here we go. But yeah,
I'm gonna go with apple, but
yeah,
each to their own. All right. So since we don't know what the name is, but can we at least talk about what problems does Lucky Orange solve? What kind of tool is Lucky Orange, and how does it really benefit marketers, salespeople, and people with websites?
Sure. So Lucky Orange itself really is all about taking someone that wants to monetize their site in some way.
Okay.
But I mean that, when I say that, I mean, do you want to sell something to somebody? Do you want to provide information to somebody? Do you want to get people to click on different ads or things on your site? Do you want to do something with your website that monetizes it in some way? If you do, you could be a Lucky Orange customer, because what our services do are help you monetize that site. So you have this great website built. Maybe you've paid an agency to do it for you, or you've built it on your own, but now you really want to make sure that that monetization event happens. So through Lucky Orange, with recordings, which allows you to see where people click, scroll, and move, through heat maps, which aggregates all those recordings together, it gives you hotspots on what the most important information is or how far down they're scrolling, or even things like surveys, chat, and poll, and ways that you can actually engage with those customers. So that way you can actually assist them while they're still on your site. All of these things are trying to help you get that visitor to that monetization point. And so that's when Lucky Orange comes into handy, and you can use 1, 2, if not all of those tools to help you do that.
All right. So when it comes to all the different tools you offer, would you say that the heat mapping tool is probably the biggest, most valuable, or important one of them?
So that's a great question. And to answer that, it's not really. The heat map is your launching point, though.
Gotcha.
And so,
okay.
To everyone out there, you probably have heard of a heat map before, because Google Analytics has a version of it. A bunch of other people out there have versions of a heat map because it's a great visual and it can actually tell you a little bit of the story. But the problem with that is it's just the beginning of a story. And so while a heat map, I'm not going to tell you it's not valuable, because it is the place you need to start. It is just the beginning of that journey. And then as you go through and use the rest of the tools, that's when you can actually find out what's going on and get to that aha moment. And the aha moment is what we're always looking for. That's when you find out what is it preventing people from converting. And that's when you're going to use these other tools that I mentioned earlier to help you get there. Where the heat map, is really just going to get you started on all that.
Okay, very cool. And I think that's probably one of the coolest things that you guys have on your website is when I first come in, I know kind of exactly what you guys do, right? You guys have this sliding value proposition that's like, learn what your customers did before they left, or why they left without converting or signing up or subscribing. So it's all about trying to find out like, maybe like what went wrong. Like someone was on my website, they were interacting with my pages in some way, but they left without letting me know who they are and why, and how can I improve those engagements and get people to actually connect with me and my business.
Yeah, and that's what's really cool about our tools is that you can do it in a bunch of different ways. For those of you that are running a small business and may not have time to chat with everybody that comes to your site, that's fine. That's why we offer recordings. So that way you can come back and see what that visitor did. As you mentioned, not everyone's going to speak up and tell you your add to cart button is broken or your submit button is broken. But when you see no conversions coming through and you get a chance to sit down and watch those recordings and you see they're clicking on that submit button, but you're never getting a submission, okay, let's figure out, test this myself and see what's going on. For those of you that do have a team or do have time yourself, you can hop on your chat. Your customers and the people on your site are probably your most valuable people because they will tell you what is working for them and what's not. And if they have a question, they're going to be likely to reach out if you have that chat icon there for you. So in that case, you can hop in a chat and get that information right away. And then a happy in between can be our surveys and our polls. So that way you can set something up and get that real-time feedback, but then you don't always have to be there and ready to answer the questions as well. So we try to provide these different areas and different touch points to get hopefully some of the same information, but in various ways, depending on how you and your team are able to support it.
Excellent, man. So let's talk a little bit about pricing package because you guys do have several different options. You guys have the starter pack at only $10 a month. You have the small business, the medium business, and the large. So one of the biggest questions probably anyone has is, how do I choose the right package for me? How do I know whether I'm a starter, small business, medium, or large?
Sure, and that definitely is a great question. A lot of our packages have to do with what stage you are and how much traffic you get to your site. Because a lot of these are based off of the volume of traffic your site receives. So you'll notice at each level on our site, it comes with a set amount of page views for the month. The first one coming with up to 25,000 page views, and then the large package coming with all the way up to 500,000 page views, or even going beyond that.
Okay.
So the first place to check is hopefully most of you, if not all of you, have Google Analytics in place, because that's really one of the first things that you should start with when you're building your site. And if you pop in there, they will give you a summary of what your last month's total was for page views. And that will give you a good idea of where you fall into our different plans. The second thing that our plans come with are different tiers of operators. So if you are using this for chat or you have a large team looking at the heat maps and things like that, you may need to bump up to a plan a little bit bigger to make sure that you have enough people able to log in. But those are really going to be the biggest thing that a single site operator is going to look for. Now, if you're an agency like Impact and you guys are, and maybe you're running it for multiple clients, then we're talking about different story and different packages as far as that goes. But when we're talking just about one site, one operator type of situation, page views and number of people you want to log in are what's going to determine which one's right for you.
And what about the number of sites, right? Because let's say you have just a standard domain. Your blog might be on there. Your landing pages might be on there. But for different sites, it also counts as subdomain, right? So if I have a blog on, say, blog.mywebsite.com, that would then require me to potentially have to get two different ones, either bump my package up or maybe run it on two different websites. Does that sound about right?
So it depends on how you want to track it.
Okay.
We recommend that you actually put the same tracking code across all subdomains.
Oh, okay.
That way you can see the journey as they go from your site over to your blog, which is still on that main base domain. It's just that blog.xyz.com. And that way you can see that whole user journey. Now, if for some reason you want to track them separate, or maybe one's built on WordPress and one's built on another e-commerce generator, the cookie won't carry over. So you're going to have to track them separately anyway. In that case, it may be good to set up two different sites. But the ideal scenario will be they're all built on the same software. They're all built on a domain or a subdomain, and you can track them across that whole user journey.
Okay. But that would still bump the package, right? So let's say I had blog. I had my own domain, and then maybe I'm hosting my landing pages on something like info.mywebsite.com. That would then make me want to choose the small business one where I get 3 sites.
No, so that would just allow you to stay on the same one.
Oh, okay.
It's counted as one site as long as they're all subdomains. Only if you want tracking those separate from each other is when you would want to bump up to a plan that allows for multiple sites.
Okay, gotcha. Very interesting. Sounds like myself, I've maybe been using it just a little bit wrong the whole time. So I'm so glad you were able to clarify some of that stuff for me.
Of course.
Now, let's say someone does download Lucky Orange and they're starting to use it. What is the best way for them to make use of the tool so they are engaging with it and they are making improvements?
Sure. So it's really important to get that up and set up as soon as possible, because what you need to allow for is some time to start collecting information. And that is for the analysis and start to make changes. So you want to get it up there and tracking as quickly as possible. Depending on your site, it could take a month, it could take 3 months, or even 6 months before you have enough information. So you want to get that tracking code on the site. Now from there, what you want to do is figure out which pages are you really focused on. And we go back to, how do we monetize our site? So which page is our lead form on? Which page is our purchase or checkout flow a part of? And really start to focus in on a key area of your site you want to start. Because websites, they could have 50, 100, 200 pages, and you're going to get overwhelmed. So you first want to figure out your key areas of your site you want to focus in on, so that you can make sure that as you start collecting the information, then we can come back and see where it was at the first month versus where it is today. And then after you make changes, where it goes from there. So figuring out those key points is very crucial in the beginning, but also ways that are going to keep you coming back and using it are by using our chat software, using our surveys, and really getting that set up as well. Okay. Because getting feedback from your visitors is really half of the battle. The other half is what we do for you, and we track the recordings and you can see all that. But sometimes there's going to be a page on your site that it looks great. People are clicking on it, they're filling out the form, and nothing's broken. And so our software, when you look at it that way, can only tell you so much about the page. Well, if you're surveying your customers on that page, or you're running chat with customers on that page, what they can tell you is maybe your shipping price is too high. And so they are leaving, not because your page is broken, but because your cost is so high on shipping that they found a better deal for a similar product elsewhere that offered free shipping. Or maybe it's something like, we need to remove a field on a page because they don't have that information yet. And so they're still clicking into it and trying to type something in there. And so on the form analytics report, it looks, oh, there's so many info in here. But guess what? They don't know what they actually need to put in there yet because they haven't had a conversation with you. There's many different things that can happen, but early on, starting to get that feedback from your customers while you're also collecting information to make sure people can click through, scroll, and engage the way you want. Making sure you do both of those from day one is going to be really important as you look to start making those changes 1 month, 2 months, 3 months down the road.
Okay, great. And you know what, as you're talking about it, all I can really think of is, I really want to see this thing in action. So we did have a client of Impact's agree to allow us to poke around in their portal a little bit and let us look at a couple of pages of theirs and really show other people how Lucky Orange can be used while we kind of review their own page and get a couple of expert insights from you on maybe some improvements they can make to the 2 pages that we have queued up. So are you able to share your screen, Bradley?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do so right now.
All right. While you're doing that, so the client's name is Kelser Corp, and it's at kelsercorp.com, and they're an IT consulting and IT outsourcing company. And from what they've told me, they've had Lucky Orange for a little over a year already. They got it back in January 2019. But when I asked them what their knowledge level of using Lucky Orange is effectively, they gave it about a 4 out of 10. So they said that they kind of understand some of the tools and they can get in there and get some of the things they want, but they recognize that they might not be using this tool to its full capacity. They say they use it about situationally. Whenever they get a new lead, they like to go and look at some of the recordings so they can see what was that journey that lead took them to finally actually converting on a landing page and reaching out and having that digital handshake with their company. But I'm sure as we review some of their stuff, we might be able to give them a couple other insights and suggestions while showing the audience at large how this tool functions and some of the really cool and interesting things we can use Lucky Orange to do with our own stuff.
Perfect.
All right. So first, okay, so we are on kelser.com. Now tell me a little bit about this dashboard. What are some of the things you're looking at here right now?
Yeah. So this dashboard right here is the main dashboard that you're going to log into and see as a Lucky Orange customer. This is going to give you a high-level overview of things that you're probably used to seeing in typical fashion with the Google Analytics. But this is just going to give you a rundown of what Lucky Orange is tracking and who's on your website. So you can go through here, you can check on your day's date, you can go day over day to see trends that are starting to occur, but just to get a good idea of who these people are, you can find sources they're coming from, you can even find out where in the world they're coming from, but just get that breakdown of who these people are on your site.
Okay.
But once we want to start understanding what's happening on your site, that's when we can start diving into some of these other tools that we've spoken about earlier today. And the first place I start, while it's not the first place in order, is I always like to start with those heat maps like I talked about earlier.
Yep.
So I'm going to hop over to the heat maps and give you an idea of what this does. Lucky Orange, the neat feature with it is that you don't have to set up an experiment. So we're always on and always tracking. So any page that you want to run a heat map for, you just come here, enter the URL, press next, and we'll load your site in real time, and we'll give you what that site is looking like. I've gone ahead and teed up a couple heat maps so that we can start to look into things, and we can go from there to figure out some things that I've found at just an initial look at their website. And the first page I'm going to start us on is their main homepage, because this is the main jumping point and something that I want to make sure we point out a few key things that I've identified on there.
Yeah, because that's usually the entry spot, right? Like a lot of times people are either maybe going to find you through a blog or something, but as soon as they learn about you and they want to know more about you, they're probably going to go to the homepage, and from there they're going to navigate to a page that's important to them. So I always like to think of the homepage as the gateway to the rest of your website and the rest of your brand. So it's pretty crucial to get the homepage right if we want to get people to stay on our website and learn more from us and engage with us. So right now, as you pull this up, I'm already seeing these cool little dots and different colors appear all over the place.
Exactly. So as you mentioned, it really is the gateway to your site. Outside of specific landing pages that you may have set up for a PPC ad or Facebook ad, this is going to be the page even those users come back to once they know about your company, because when they go to Google next to find your site, they're going to click on the landing page and go from there. So right here, we're seeing a heat map of the homepage. What this is going to do is it's going to aggregate all the clicks over the past 30 days, 60, 90, whichever you have subscribed to on Lucky Orange.
Okay.
To see where people in aggregate are clicking. You'll notice on this main homepage that most of the concentration actually occurs up here at the top right of the page. I can notice that we have a client login, we have a contact us. So yes, your existing customers know right where they're going. But what's interesting to point out is this blog right here is actually the number 4 clicked item on the whole homepage. And
people are digging their content.
Yeah, usually blog is really hard to get people to get to and get them to go to your blog, because people want to learn what you offer, but a blog really keeps them around because it shows that they're actually interested in the content. And so awesome job there, Kelser, with getting so many people to the blog, because that can be a challenge in of itself.
Okay.
But the struggle here now is if you're losing so many people to the blog, how can we make sure that we still get our key monetization point? And that is whether that is a sign up, a lead, a conversion. In your guys' case, I think it's a lead. Making sure that we still do that over there once they leave this main page is important. So that's one thing that I noticed, is that we're getting people to the blog.
Okay.
The other thing I noticed, though, is that main hero image in your main call to action, which I'm guessing they're hoping for the most and you really want to happen,
Number
is
41.
little to no love at all. Yeah, the number 41 ranked item on here. And if we can click in, over the last month, we've got 2 total clicks on that. And one of them was probably myself as I was testing this out.
Gotcha.
So what I would want to focus in on this main page is how can we make this more enticing? And I know what you guys offer. It's not necessarily make a purchase right now or even drive a lead quite yet, but we want them to learn more information about our services. And whatever content that we have right here, right now, the what will you give me a peace of mind and the text above it is not driving those people to want to click and find out more. So what I would focus in on here is how can we A/B test this and figure out what content might drive more. I don't know the answer today. And I'm not saying I'm going to have the perfect silver bullet for this by switching up the text. But what I can tell you is through A/B test, you can figure out which version actually drives that final result for you. So make 2 or 3 copies of this homepage. Switch out maybe the image, switch out some of the text, and have this be your main variant so you know where it's at right now, but then have 2 or 3 other versions of this homepage. And over the next couple months, follow that and figure out which one is actually driving more people over to the information that you want them to see. And once we get that, now we know what to switch our page to using those different tests.
Yeah, and I think just looking at it, one of the things I would probably test out would definitely be the copy of the button itself, because it's a little ambiguous, right? What will give you peace of mind? I mean, that could be a better pillow that helps me sleep at night. Something to do with like keeping my kids from going crazy during this COVID crisis and keeping them busy all day. So something maybe a little more specific that gives me clear context into, if I click this button, I have a pretty good idea of what this next page is really going to be about and what value it brings to me. So to me, I would definitely play with probably the copy of the button before I played with too much else. And maybe not change, because if you change the H1 header from IT consulting that brings peace of mind to something else, and you changed that paragraph underneath that explains the value a little bit, and you change the button, it'd be hard to tell really what was the most effective because you changed several different things at one time. So whenever I like to A/B test, I like to A/B test like one element at a time and say, what if I just changed the color of this button, or if I changed the copy of this button, or if I changed this H1 header?
Yeah, those are great points, Kevin, and something I definitely left out. When I was talking about switching the different images and the different buttons, we're definitely talking about stages.
Anybody, right? And like anybody, these are things you can take. But for me, I'm looking at this one specifically. I'm like, I have a feeling that button just isn't clear enough of what I'm going to, where do I go when I click on that? I don't know. And if I don't know where I'm going, probably not going to click it.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that definitely would be a great place to start on the homepage. So those were just a few things that I noticed off the bat was A, our main call to action's not getting a lot of love. B, the client login, people know where that, so that's great. And C, this blog. And that's really where I want to go to next is the blog. You're getting a lot of people there. And so let's make sure that we're monetizing those people and collecting the information that we want since we have so many people going over there.
Okay.
So if you're good with that, Kevin, we'll hop over to that page
Well,
next.
real quick, I'm curious about, can you show me the scrollability? Because one of the things they said that previously when they worked on the homepage is they really wanted to try and improve the scroll rate. And they added a video to this page, I believe, to try and keep engagement. So what can scrolls tell us? I get clicks is like, hey, this is clearly what someone's interested in. They are trying to click to go to another page and load that up. Moves, that's where my mouse is hovering. And sometimes people might read things and like kind of trace with their eyes. I noticed like bolded text will often get kind of hovers as people are like, that's something I need to remember. And they're just kind of tracing it with their mouse. And it's making them maybe remember that a little bit better. But scrolls is really about, man, if I have an important offer down at the bottom and I'm only getting like 20 people, 20% of people down there, that's not good enough. Like, what can I do to improve this? So I'm curious where they decided to put the video on here to try and improve the scrollability and click-through rate on this page.
For sure, we can definitely take a look at that. So in the different heat maps, as Kevin mentioned, you can flip-flop back and forth between these different ones. And the scroll one is really good to figure out, are the people getting to that video? Or once we hop over to a blog, how many blog posts are people reading? Or once you're in a specific blog post, how far down are they actually making it on average? And this is good because you want to understand if this video was very important to us, we took the time and money to make it, are people actually getting to it and seeing it? So when you switch over to the scroll heat map, as you hover over the page, you'll be able to see a percent of people that have made it down that far. This aggregates everyone on desktop. We can switch over up here at the top left to different things like tablet and mobile as well, because each of those are going to have their different scroll depths. But since now we're on a desktop, we're going to go ahead and scroll down. We're going to find our way down to this video. Knowing that you got to press in the middle to play, we can see about 60 or 70% of the visits are making it down to this portion of the page. So that's a great start. You're not going to get everyone down to the bottom. Now, if this video is so important to you, as part of those testing phases, maybe you even put that up in that hero image space and have that video played there if you want to get more views to it. But at least people are making it here. So if you find out you're having a problem with people not watching it, it's not because the people aren't making it there. It's again has to do with how do you get the people to engage with it. And that can be done with the text that may lead up to it. And that can do with maybe some more explanation around it. You can start testing out things there. Again, I wouldn't start testing too many things on this page at once because we want to focus in on what's most important. But if what's most important to you is getting people to watch this video and not that main call to action, then I'd hop down here knowing that we're getting most of the people here, but how can we get more people to play this video now that we're down here? So it really just depends on what that monetization point is that we want to focus in on. Again, you got to focus in on that because if you don't key in on what your monetization point is, that's when we start to get into trouble of, okay, we're switching this thing here and this thing here and that thing there. And now you have no clue what made any change and how that helped improve your performance.
Gotcha, I love it. And real quick, and I think I've noticed this before, because it's a video and if it's embedded from another source, you actually, is it true you lose the moves and the clicks on the video a little bit because it is coming from somewhere else? So technically it's not something that Lucky Orange is able to track exactly?
Yes, that's a great point as well. We can track how far down they've scrolled. We can track clicks all around it, but we can't actually track a click in the video because that video is an iframe within it. And so it's really hosted elsewhere. So unless the third-party provider you're using for your video allows for Lucky Orange code in it, which some of them do, things like YouTube don't, but some of these other third-party video providers will, you can then place the tracking code in there and then get the engagements.
Okay.
If you don't have our code within that iframe, you will lose the actual engagements with the video.
Okay, very cool. All right, yeah, let's go ahead and check out a blog now. I don't want to spend too much time on the homepage because there's so many different things we can do with this. Let's go ahead and see how they're doing with their blog pages.
Sure. So here's one of their most clicked on blogs. And this blog page is a great page to take a look at because you'll see down here, we have a lot of people coming here. What we can then see here is how people are clicking on it. But as we talked about earlier, a clicks heat map on a blog post isn't going to tell you too much. It's probably going to tell you where they first clicked on the page so they could start scrolling, but you're not going to have a lot of call to actions. So what you're going to really want to look at now is that scroll interaction. So we're going to turn on the scrolls heat map. And we're going to start to understand how far down on this page are people making it. So are people getting to this page and then bouncing because maybe you have a traffic source sending traffic here and they're really not that interested? Or are you really keeping these users' attention? So as we start to scroll this page, you'll notice we draw a 50% point. And so you'll see that a lot of people truly are making it through most of that article. You're getting at least 50% of your people down to the last portion or the last segment of this article itself. So you're doing the good thing there by getting people down. Now, the two things to note that you may not see on this heat map right now, and that I just know from going to the page earlier, is for a first-time visit, you guys do provide a popover to start collecting their information, which is really, really awesome. Because we're getting all these people over to your blog, we may as well try to collect some information and be able to retarget them and remarket to them in the future. So awesome job doing that. Now, if you didn't know that, you'd be like, well, the first call to action was really download the ebook all the way at the end. And you'd be like, that's probably way too far. And you would be right, but that's because you didn't know about that popover. So I actually think what you've done is very smart. You pop something up early on when they're on the blog and they can sign up then. But if they dismiss that because they want to read more, you give them another opportunity to come back to it at the end of the blog as well. So having multiple touch points is very beneficial. And I think this blog does a great job at doing that, because what we're trying to do is, yes, try to get them to learn more, but also get them engaged with us. So this can be the first stepping point in providing our services in the future.
Yeah, and I think it's a really important point you made too, is especially with really long articles, right? Like maybe you have a 3,000, 5,000, beyond 5,000 page, like pillar page or something, and your only offer is all the way at the bottom. I generally see there's going to be a fall off rate. And if that is a really important conversion point and it's all the way at the bottom, you're not going to get anywhere near the conversions you're looking for. So that can help inform you, like maybe we need to put some inline call to action somewhere in the first third, second third, and the bottom third to try and get some more of those people. Like I usually like to try and put in maybe a CTA where at least 70 to 75% of people are able to see it in the absence of a popover. And with popovers, I also am careful on when it comes up, because me personally, and I know from a lot of people's experience, if that thing happens right off the bat, like I land on a page, first thing that happens is a popover, I'm going to clear it out because I'm here for business. But if it waits a little bit and has a delay and at least lets me interact with the page a little bit, then I'll go, hey, okay, let me see if there is value in that pop-up, and then I might sign up for the thing. But call to action placement can definitely be crucial. One other thing, I'm not going to make you turn it on right now, but the clicks, another thing I usually like to do with the clicks on a blog article is look at like my hyperlinks. Like I have other pages of my website or maybe external sources that I want to point my audience to. Are they drawing people's attention? You know, maybe I'm only using one word and then you completely blow right past it because it's not a phrase or a sentence or something, and it doesn't give context into it. The hyperlink color, right? Like, does it draw my attention, or is it just a faded gray and I barely even notice? Unless I hover over it and my little pointer turns into a little finger, I don't know that that's a link at all. So I do like to look to see, is there engagement with my hyperlinks to the other pages I want to draw people to for other information?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And there definitely is a benefit to using clicks, as you just mentioned. But in the blogs, using the moves and scrolls are be one of the best places to start. So you can see where people are hovering and where they're scrolling. But definitely if you have that specific point you're trying to follow up on, a click can be really important as well. So it's all different use cases, but it's fun to see all the different ways people can use it. Because what is most important to you, Kevin, maybe are these different things getting clicked on. But what's most important to our sales team is that ebook getting downloaded so I can start that sales cycle? And so it's really cool to see how those different teams can use this, because everyone may have something that's a little different. And that's why it's important to get your whole team in and using a tool like Lucky Orange, because everyone's going to use it in a different way. And you're not going to have the same insights if you only have one person looking at it.
I think it's a huge, important point to make, is it should not just be your marketing team that is reviewing this. Your sales team should be involved too. Like I said, as me as a marketer, I'm looking at how can I keep your attention? How can I get you to look at more content of mine? And the salesperson is going to be like, I need people that I can reach out to. I need leads. So there's a disconnect between what I find is important and what they find is important, and having us come together and work on a page and say, what really is important for this page? At the bottom of it, what should this page be doing for the customer and for ourselves?
Yeah, there's nothing better than when you can get those two people in the same room, because at the end of the day, you guys are all working towards the same goal, but your piece of that goal can be different sometimes. And so on that same page and making sure that you guys both talk, and whether right now that's virtually or in the future that's being in the same room together, I always recommend that on a day-to-day basis, yeah, you each can look and do your own thing, but every couple weeks or once a month, check in with each other and go over these reports, because there could be that key insight that you just weren't thinking of. So it's always fun to get those two teams in a room and on the same page, because when you do that, it's incredible to see the results that can be driven compared to when you keep them apart.
Cool. Now, I know I want to be conscious of your time, but is there one more page we can look at? I want to look at something that might have a form on the page to kind of see how people are dealing with site pages that have forms, or even landing pages that have forms.
Sure. The last thing we'll take a look at is a page that they actually reached out to us and said, I want to see more conversions, and how can we help do that? There's a form at the bottom of the page, and we're just not driving and seeing that many conversions. So how can we get more of it? So here's the page right here. As you can note, and the first thing that drew my attention is, unfortunately, we just don't get a lot of traffic to this page so far. And so over the last 3 days, we've only had 36 people come to this page. So you better be converting a really high rate to be able to get more than even one conversion over the last 30 days. A typical conversion rate is usually 1% to 2%. And so in that case, we're not even up to a full person completing a lead. Other thing I'd note here is, because we don't get a ton of traffic to this page yet, I would recommend extending that storage period of your data.
Okay.
We can only see 30 days back. And so we don't even have enough information where at least one person should have submitted. So I would extend the storage to at least 90 days, if not even a year, so we can start building up traffic time to see how this page is converting. And I know I got that wow because I said a year. And that's because a page like this, I really wouldn't touch too often. Now, that blog page that had a ton of traffic and your homepage that had a ton of traffic, those are fine. You get enough traffic each month, we can make some decisions every few months. But on a page like this, you're just shooting in the dark.
Gotcha. Yeah, 35 is a pretty low number, right? It's like, if I make decisions based off of only how 35 people interacted, am I really making the right choices here?
Exactly. And we'll get even down lower than that. 35 people came to this page. As we start to scroll, we get all the way down to this form right here.
Okay.
And if we turn on form analytics, we'll notice right here that only one person has engaged with this form the last 30 days. So now we take that 30 number and we get down to 1. And that means in a whole year, we may get 10 to 12 people that actually engage with this form. So we're not talking about a lot of engagement right now. But what I can suggest is, how can we figure out how to get more people to this page?
Yeah.
Coming from history and previous roles that I've had, that's what I'd focus on. If this is really a product that's most important to you and a page that's really important to you, right now we're not getting a lot of people there. So that's when we go back to that homepage. maybe this is the page that the main call to action leads to. And we have a clear call to action that leads them here. And now we can start getting more traffic that way. Maybe we turn this into a PPC landing page and we put a whole campaign around it. And we turn this into something maybe a little shorter and more concise, because this is a long page and someone coming from an ad may not make it all the way through here. But can we drive some more traffic to the page with paid ads? How can we get some more people here so we can at least see if people are interested? Because without that, I don't have anything to really tell you about today. I can tell you based off information I know elsewhere that this form does have a lot of questions off the bat. So you may have a hard time getting this filled out, but I can't tell you that right now because your site could be different. And the visitors coming to your site may be more willing to give more information than a typical customer. But until I see some more people through here, I wouldn't be giving you sound advice by telling you to make changes today.
That's a very fair point. In forums, often it really is about the value of the offer and how much people are willing to give back information-wise, right? Like if I'm subscribing to your blog or I'm downloading an ebook, I'm not going to give you my phone number, man. I'm sorry. That's going to get me to want to leave. And in this, let's say this number here was 350 or 3,500 visitors, and we still saw a high or a low number of conversions. We'd probably be wanting to look at that abandoned section, right? Like people started filling this form out, but this question right here, it seemed to snag people up and they said, you know what? I'm going to step away from this. I feel like maybe this is a little too invasive. You're getting a little too personal. And at this point, the value of what I'm getting in return doesn't match what you're asking of me to give you. It needs to be equal. Like there needs to be some reciprocation of value between the person and the business.
Exactly. And that's the cool thing here. Unfortunately, we don't have anything to show you with the abandoned, but one thing I want to show you is with the conversion, all these reports are tied back to our recordings. Mm-hmm. So this one person that did convert, I can actually watch that person's session and see what led them to convert. And the same goes as we get more people to this page, you're going to have successes and you're going to have failures. So come in here, find that field that's causing the abandonment, and then watch those recordings to see what caused the abandonment. If that continues, figure out, can we adjust this form field? Maybe we need to add a tooltip to make it easier to fill out. Or maybe we can even trigger a survey or a poll that comes up as people get there and say, hey, are you having trouble today?
Interesting.
Reach out here for more questions. Or you could even pop up a live chat at that moment in time. And so that way you can walk them through a question if it's something you truly have to have. But you can start using these other tools together to understand what's going on at that moment in time. And that's where all this power really happens, is you take the heat map, you find out what's working, you find out what's not working, and you do that by hopping into the recordings, popping up a poll, popping in chat, and doing all these things together. And that's where the power of Lucky Orange comes in.
Awesome. I'm not going to make you click on the video just because I know with being on Zoom, the lag, it's not really going to show us much. But I do like some of the information I'm seeing. I'm seeing that this recording came 7 days ago. Someone made this conversion, right? This is when the conversion point made. They viewed 3 pages of the website before they converted on this. Time, is that the entire time of the session or time of last page?
That's the time of the entire session. Yep.
It came from Google. This person is located in Mustang, Oklahoma, which if you only operate, say, in a specific service area, knowing the location of those people is really important. And if we had a ton of traffic on this page, in your segmentation in the top left next to the device, I could segment it for the area, right? Like, I mean, it's great that I'm getting people all over the US or even the world checking this page. But I'm a little local business. I want to know who is in my area, and I could segment out for just that. Exactly. And I can see if they're on what browser they're using. So maybe I improve my pages for those specific browsers, the operating system, and the device they came in on. Very cool.
Yeah, so you can do all that here. You can see the exact version of it. So again, if this was an abandonment report and they all came in on Chrome 79, an older version of Chrome maybe, you could know my site has an issue on that. So anytime a customer comes to my site on Chrome 79, I'm going to need to pop up a chat or a survey because we can't fix that bug. And I'm going to let you know that we either need to collect that information for them or they need to update their browser to fill it out. But it's cool as you start to see all this different information and tie it together. You can recognize trends, understand what's going on, and then start making these changes.
Okay. Very cool, man. I appreciate this so much, Bradley. And again, I want to be mindful of time. So I feel like if you can go ahead and stop sharing your screen, of course I want to see more. And I'm sure everybody else wants to see more. But in order to see more, I highly encourage you to check this tool out yourself. So after you watch this video, if you are interested in Lucky Orange, check the description of this video where we're going to have a link to a trial for Lucky Orange. And I believe, I'll have to double check, I believe it is a special trial through Impact where you would get 20% off if you purchase it. And I believe it extends the free trial timeline from, I believe, 7 days to 10 days. So you get an extra 3 days to start collecting data and really get an idea what you can do with this tool yourself.
Exactly. So you're definitely going to get that extended offer with us. And also note that anyone that comes to our site, we offer a full onboarding team, even if you're still on the free trial. So if what you've seen today goes over your head and you want someone to talk you through it, sign up for an account, sign up with that onboarding specialist. We don't charge anything for that. And you can get your own walkthrough of Lucky Orange as well.
Awesome, man. I love that. All right, Bradley, well, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you're interested in any other digital sales marketing tools to help you improve the way you do digital business, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and come back as we continue to explore the best SaaS tools out there for marketers and salespeople.
Tutorials.